Alright guys, TacticalRab back again today. I hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far, and just as it seemed like Rostermania made a fair bit of sense, Neptune was going to join LAG, Asim potentially going to the Florida Mutineers, that is now not the case any longer. Asim deciding to stay on the Guerrillas bench for the rest of the season, leaving Florida Mutineers scrambling for a replacement SMG player, with him already telling Vivid that he's out of the team, and he also, Vivid, might be eyeing up his next move back to the league as well. Very much enjoyed your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. On the verge of 79k, and there's no better time to press the red button than right about now, because plenty of updates on this I'm sure over the coming days as well. Let's just dive straight into things. Firstly, we want to talk about Boston real quick, because it's very likely that well, Vivid to Boston could be a possibility here, because of course, like, it seems like Florida Mutineers, they've wanted to get rid of Vivid. The reasoning behind that is somewhat unknown, to be honest, just because, I mean, look, yeah, I think he had the worst KD in the league, but arguably was very much left out to dry by the rest of his team, more than probably any other SMG in the entire game. So I was wondering here, if they decide, if the trials don't go well, so Florida have said, okay, we're doing trialing out Yeez, maybe Prestinni was an option early on as well, there's certainly some other players, Asim, that got a trial as well, but I was thinking, okay, look, if that doesn't work out, are they going to bring Vivid back into the team regardless? But the thing is, pretty sure they told Vivid, you're gone mate, we don't want you anymore, and he's flown home back to a completely different state. So, well, it certainly doesn't look like right now Vivid's going back there. And then the question was, we looked at it yesterday, okay, Los Angeles Thieves maybe, Boston Breach, a couple of these teams where the SMG line hasn't quite been so strong, could they look at a guy like Vivid to potentially make a move? That might be happening with Boston. We'll see some indications for that one here in just a couple of seconds. But this was the big news, of course, of yesterday, that, well, Neptune, Spart and Co, they officially are back in the starting lineup, or Neptune for the first time, of course, in the Los Angeles Guerrillas. That leaves, of course, Asim looking for a team, looking for an opportunity, but he describes yesterday that he's actually not going to be leaving Los Angeles Guerrillas. Interesting decision, of course, look, we don't know the entire reasoning behind this. He says that some of this stuff he wants to keep kind of personal to him, but I'll read out the statement. So, an update on his future, he says, for people concerned and to speak on my future with regards to some of these rumours, because the rumour has that he was trialling with Florida Mutineers, potentially going to leave Los Angeles Guerrillas, go to Florida, what seems to be a pretty promising team in my opinion. Like, I think minus Dave Paddy plus MajorManiak is a good move. Not sure it sets them apart incredibly well, but maybe Asim could have been a good piece to complete that team and give them a good chance of making the World Championship. But as he says, I've decided I'm going to stick with LAG for the rest of the season. There's a lot of reasons for this, and some being outside the game with some family and personal reasons that I don't want to publicise. For the time being, I think it's best for me to stay here and see what the future holds. Shout out to everyone that's had my back this year. So interesting stuff actually, right, from Asim, because I certainly thought that he would take the opportunity if he wants to maybe compete at the World Championship or something to go elsewhere. Then again, maybe he's looking at this team, like of course with Neptune and Spart and Huke in the team, and thinking, okay, look, how good really is that SMG duo? I think we certainly have a lot of questions about it right now in the wider community, and maybe Asim as well is thinking, okay, well, who knows, right? Let's say they get bodied this team for the first 2 weeks of qualifiers. Like, who knows if they bring Asim back for the final week, or if even at that point they're still there or thereabouts in the World Championship hunt, they could potentially bring Asim back. It's unlikely, but maybe he thinks there's a possibility if this team starts off badly, their scrims go badly, that maybe they'll try Asim in place of Huke or something, and try swapping out the other SMG to see if he has a chance. The other side of things as well for Asim, I think, is certainly that Florida Mutineers are kind of on the more, like, let's say, just say budget-orientated CDL teams down there with the Paris Legion, right? They don't want to pay that much money. The salaries, I'm sure, aren't going to be crazy. And maybe Asim's looking at kind of what they're offering, saying, okay, like, we want to bring you on. Maybe let's say they did want to bring you on after those trials, and let's say, okay, we'll give you this. It's potentially a 1+1 deal, such that if he does sign, they can then extend into next season. That maybe limits his options, right? And maybe the whole the money side, the family side could be another issue as well. We don't really understand. We don't know the whole picture. Of course, I'm difficult to speculate, but certainly an interesting decision. I wonder if it'll work out for him. I hope it does. I think he's certainly a player of the caliber to get back in the league next season. It's not like, you know, you don't find SMG players like Asim all over the shop, right? There's not that many SMG players, certainly in challenges as well, that people could get instead. So I feel like Asim should be okay next year. I feel like he still has some chance of getting back in the LAG starting team the remainder of this season if things go poorly for them over their practice and the first week or so of the Major 4 qualifiers. But yeah, not deciding to join Florida if he did have the offer there, which it seemed like he might have done, is an interesting decision, because Sky's an awakening, especially coming to LAN environments. Sky's especially have been well, pretty much monstrous players so far this season, at least at times. I feel like Asim could have potentially rounded out that squad rather nicely. Maybe he was thinking, without an actual SMG partner, I'm going to get super left out to dry, just like Vivid was for the last several months, which may be a viable option as well. So definitely an interesting decision. Now, the implication of this is for the Florida Mutineers, they've been kind of finessed in a way, right? I think they were trialing Neptune, he then went to LAG, and I guess Florida were thinking, okay, we'll get Asim instead, that's no problem. But then Asim has stayed on LAG as well, so they've seemingly finessed Florida right now. And now Florida are thinking, okay, wow, well, Vivid, we told him he's gone. Like, effectively, yeah, they told this guy, okay, we don't want your services anymore. And maybe now they're thinking, okay, damn, can we get Vivid back? But then maybe the team chemistry would be absolutely tragic, right? And they've told him they want to drop him. So, and effectively, he's even moved out of Florida itself. So unlikely that he's going to make a return. So therefore, they've been looking for other options. Now, Clayster says this: life is a movie, because one of his teammates, I mean, this is just Change's Rostermania right here in a nutshell, to be honest. Clayster managed to get a spot in kind of the elite side of things by teaming up with 2Real and the guys at, well, formerly Neptune and MajorManiak's team that actually won the Toronto Open, and now 2Real is getting a trial seemingly on the Florida Mutineers in place of Vivid. So it seems that Florida are scrambling all across the board to try and get someone to replace Vivid on this team, and it seems like 2Real potentially is going to be that guy, right? As Chrome points out, 2Real is being looked at by Mutineers with Asim and Neptune now out of the picture, right? So two of their key targets here, they both stay on Los Angeles Guerrillas, or Neptune joins in the case of him. But 2Real definitely a player of note the last couple of months, initially on the Stallions roster, right? And I mean, look, he's considered to be a pretty solid SMG player, did win that Toronto Open event alongside Neptune. I think it was MajorManiak, was it Brack on that team as well, or whatever the squad fully was. But I mean, yeah, he currently, okay, well, here it is, back in the tweet right here. Clayster, Fellow, and Brack is the current team who recently won the event with that exact team we just looked at, right? So, I mean, yeah, 2Real joining Florida Mutineers potentially, I guess they're going to look at him as an option. They only really got a few days to finalize this, right? Because today is Saturday, the league starts again here on Friday, so they've got to finalize their team soon. And how many other SMGs are there on the market if Asim has said no? And of course, Vivid doesn't want to come back either, right? So, crazy situation that Florida have put themselves in. And also, of course, I'm sure they were looking at their substitute, right? They've got a guy like Yeez on the bench. He hasn't done that much so far this year in challenges, but he tweets this out, and I thought this is kind of incredible. Now, I don't know to what degree this is kind of, well, this kind of awakening messing around here, but Yeez tweets the following out: no matter what happens, I'ma do me and grind in silence. I was made for this. And Awakening replies, since deleted, no you weren't. You guys can't fully see that. Here we go. No you weren't, he says right here. I mean, this is honestly incredible. He deletes this one as well. Now, maybe he was just messing around here, but just the idea that he deletes it, maybe he was messing around and then it got deleted and he's thinking, okay, this actually sounds kind of bad, even though we're good mates or whatever. So let me delete it. By deleting it, it actually makes it look even worse, right? So it just goes to show, maybe to some degree, that these organizations or these players or these starting organization rosters have no respect for their substitutes, right? Or it's just a bit of a joking around. We didn't really see any explanation to this by Awakening, saying like, okay, I was just joking or whatever. He tweeted this out: no, you weren't built for this. You were absolutely terrible. Effectively, maybe they trialed him in scrims, it didn't go so well, so they're now looking for different SMG players outside of their own organization. But based on this kind of evidence, it doesn't seem all that likely that Yeez on their sub bench is going to get a shot in their starting team either, and more than likely probably won't be on their sub bench next season if this is what the actual starting roster thinks of him, right? So that's the situation. Also, with 2Real gone, that means Prolute is not going to replace him. So Change's Rostermania, man, it just absolutely goes out of control. It just takes one player to get picked up, or pretty much the Asim decision has led to all of this drama, right? Because they need an SMG player. 2Real's now been replaced by Prolute on this team, so that seems kind of likely that 2Real might be the guy that goes over there to the Florida Mutineers. And Prolute needing a Change's team, he's going to step into this squad. He's going to be using, I guess, an SMG now on this team. So of course he was kind of the flex role on Optic, but he certainly said he can also run an SMG. I guess that's what he's going to try and do here. So kind of a crazy situation that's going down. But of course the other side of things, as Prolute even says, right back to a cup tomorrow with the new squad, right? So he managed to find himself a nice team rather quickly, because 2Real steps out. Clay's okay, looking for people. Prolute's like, yeah, I'm down to take the spot. And well, as Clay says here in the reply, so yeah, more than likely he's going to be stepping into the team. 2Real probably to the Mutineers. But I mean, look, we thought that Asim to the Mutineers was probably going to be pretty much a done deal, but then things change around very quickly. So all could still change here. Now this also from Capsidal, he kind of tweets this out about the Prolute situation potentially, but also his own personal situation, because we rumored a couple of days ago, my theory was, okay, can you get temp off Paris, maybe get rid of Capsidal from the team, because I feel like out of the two SMGs, Capsidal has been, let's just say, the least impactful over the last couple of months or so, since he had a great start to the season, of course. But I was wondering, could you put TJ to the sub, maybe bring in a guy like Temp as the flex or whatever? They might just decide to switch out the sub players, because you've got to think about Vivid. If he is an option, well, he's of course someone who you've got to look at, right? There's not too many SMG players in the world that have the kind of pressure that Vivid can apply to the map. Yes, his KD model looked so great this season. When your team with Dave Fatty, Skies and Awakening, it's probably not going to look that good, right? Regardless of how good you are at the game. And lots of people, I think rather highly of Vivid, and I am surprised that they got rid of him. I'm sure a lot of you guys are as well. Now, we first talked about Los Angeles Thieves, right? These guys don't want to make a change. They're confident this roster of 4 can get them through the rest of the season. I'm not convinced they're going to win anything with this team, but in fairness, on LAN, they had decent results. Top 4 last time out at Major 3. Their best results so far this season, at least outside of kind of the Pro-Am events, where, they came top 4 as well. Well, they came top 2 at the Pro-Am, top 4 at the Kickoff Classic as well, but they've been looking okay on LAN. But still, the SMG duo on this team, I mean, look, here's Kenny on the bottom right-hand side, 71 in terms of just pure lineman card statistics, 0.87 in hardpoints, 0.87 in search, 8 in 15 in first bloods, not particularly good at all. He's been getting pretty much Kentucky fried outside of that one series against Optic, that eliminated Optic back at Major 3. But I mean, look, I'd be looking at my SMG duo here and thinking, okay, Kenny's pretty much been terrible on the SMG, to be honest, but it's still, the AR duo is looking okay, Envoy's looking alright as well. Who knows if there's a world where minus Kenny plus Vivid, Vivid could improve this team. I guess maybe they need Kenny for the comms or whatever, but it's far from guaranteed, given Octane has, you know, good communication as well. I don't know. I'd at least be considering it. But apparently, they're not going to do that, but Boston might be stepping into it instead. A roster got spotted entering Challengers Cup number 12 that appears to have Capsidal on the team. Exceed, Dave Paddy, Capsidal, and Assault apparently is going to be the roster down here. So seemingly, Capsidal not any longer on that Boston Breach starting team. So Capsidal and Dave Paddy might be teaming together right after Dave Paddy got dropped from Florida Mutineers. Capsidal might have been dropped by the Boston Breach, or at least maybe a trial period. They're going to try things out because we haven't really heard any specific rumors that, well, Boston might be trying Vivid in the roster, but that, of course, is the going rumor, right? Let's say Vivid is an option on the market, as of course he is. Like, you've got to at least consider him if you are in a spot like Boston Breach. We looked at it yesterday. They're in a precarious position. They have 130 points. They're 6th, I believe, right now in terms of the standings, but they have a very hard run of matches here going into the final stage. Like, we talked about, okay, they play both LA teams. I'm pretty sure they play Seattle, Toronto, and Optic outside of that, so a pretty hard set of matches. Like, you know, 1 in 4, 2 in 3. If they can go 2 in 3, I think that'd be impressive, honestly, from that set of games, given how they generally perform against the best teams in the world. But I feel like a Vivid for Capsidal change is, it can only be an upside, to be honest. I can't feel like this team is going to get any worse with a trade like that. Capsidal's numbers look okay, but just compare right here the damage per 10 minutes. Okay, like, Control isn't quite the same deal. Control KD is actually terrible for Nero, but just in general, I think, like, he's just running into a brick wall a lot of the time on some of those, let's say, Kavutu Control maps they seem to like to play. But in Hardpoint, he has almost 3,000 damage per 10 minutes, whereas Capsidal only has 2,500, right? That's a big differential right there in terms of how much pressure Nero is putting on the map. And honestly, a guy like Vivid does a very similar thing. So these two players, it's not clear exactly if these two players were together, Nero and Vivid, who would be kind of the slaying SMG, who would actually be putting up the numbers, but they would certainly be a force to be reckoned with, right? They'd be scary watching Nero and Vivid run at you and putting that aggression on the map, but I'm sure Zinni, if that was the case, would be quite a way behind the rest of the team. So not sure the chemistry and the pacing would be absolutely perfect, but if Vivid is an option, you've got to consider it, right? Because I think this SMG duo over the course of the season has probably been one of the weaker ones. So those are the rumors then as they presently stand. 2 will potentially going to the Mutineers. Vivid might be on the Boston Breach. It certainly looks like if Capsidal's gone, like, who else are they picking up in place of Capsidal? Unless, as I say, it's kind of TJ to an SMG and they've picked up a Flex instead. But like, with Vivid being out there, and I'm sure he wants to get another chance, and I'm sure he feels it's gonna, like, Los Angeles Guerrillas with Asim. I'm sure Asim likes the organization, likes his teammates, like, still has respect for everyone behind the scenes there. Whereas on Florida and Vivid might be a very different story, right? He's thinking, okay, these guys just effectively just screwed me over right here, don't want to play with me anymore, like, let me just get off this team as soon as I possibly can if Boston want to give me a chance. No news as to what's going on in New York, if anything at all, probably nothing, but Paul has been doing loads of tweets like this, so we just have to bring them up on screen and see if there's any truth to them over the coming days. This also to mention real quick, because Gunless has actually also appeared for tomorrow's Challenger Cup. Kind of, well, we already knew it was confirmed that he's out of the team anyway. Teaming with Prestinni, Royalty, and DiamondCon apparently in place of Classic, but apparently it's not kind of a long-term change. Well, apparently it's some sort of filler situation since an Armadillo ate Nick's internet line. So yeah, just a short-term change here for Gunless in for Classic on that team. And just to finish out with this from Breaking Points, MVP candidates so far this year. Which players are on the MVP radar? I think certainly these 5 are in consideration. I feel like Scump isn't too far behind as well if Opti continue to have their success. But very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did enjoy it, hit on a like button, tells your YouTube gods this is a good video. Others like you should see it as well. And upgrade the competitive Call of Duty community. Thank you as always. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you next time.
Guys, I didn't want to put this in the tweet, right? But there is some good news, all right? Guys, if I'm on speaker and your girl's around, you might want to tell her to go away, all right? You might want to tell her to leave the room, all right? So a whole bunch of negatives, right? But apparently... Oh, you guys might look at me different for this. Apparently, your genitalia might swell up too.